Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Kali Plants, and today we're gonna be doing a watering video. And as you can see on the clip that I'm showing here, that I'm showing you how I water my hanging plants. But this is not the best way to record this video. But you can see here that what I do with my hanging plants is that I let them out of the greenhouse because I have a wooden table, and then I hang them outside, and then I water them from the top until the bottom drains. So I really soak the potting mix thoroughly with water. I don't think bottom watering is an option for them because they're already very long. So for the smaller ones, I think I will bottom watering them, but the hanging ones already, I just top water them. Now when it comes to watering our other succulents, now you can see here that what I most commonly do is I bottom water my succulents. So I have here soaked some of my big ones, especially the big ones. Once they're fully established, I will soak them overnight because they will take very long before it really soaks in the water. And I've been doing this for several months already with my plants. Okay, I think for the longest time, ever since I started succulents, I've been doing bottom watering. So I have tried this and tested it. And if you water at night, it will be much more beneficial because succulents have a morning and have a day and night cycle. And at night, they are much more likely to absorb water than in the morning. So it's much better to water at night, and you're less likely to make your succulents rot by overwatering if you water at night compared if you water at day, because at day when the heat is high, there are higher chances of rotting on your succulents. Now I wanted to show you how I do my top watering and when I do my top watering. Generally, if my succulent is new, I will start with top watering them. So let me just switch the camera and we will water some of my newly bought succulents here. Okay, so here are our new succulents, and I've already top watered them the other day, but I think I wanted to water them again now because they're already dry. So with top watering, you generally want to do this on large succulents, on large pots, and those that are not established yet. So you can see here, these are not established yet, but they're dropping leaves, so that means that they might be already rooting inside. So what happens if you newly plant your succulents, they will not look good right away, not until they establish. Now a good consistent watering schedule and also a good potting mix will be excellent for making your plants establish, especially if you buy them out of the box. So what I do here is I really sink in their roots at the soil, just so it will have a nice attachment to the soil. Yes, and then you water it. Okay, if you don't water a lot, your succulents might take longer to establish. The plant senses the water in the soil, and that's what encourages them to produce roots inside their soil. So this one is bottom watered last night. Okay, so we have that. Okay, I think I want to top water this one as well, but usually it doesn't make a difference if you have a small pot like this. So if you have a small pot like this, I would just recommend that you straight up bottom water it, because it doesn't make a difference. But with bigger pots, it really makes a difference. So what will happen, because they're in a bigger pot, they will produce more roots, and if they haven't produced those roots yet, okay, and you already soak the potting mix thoroughly, then the extra moisture, because they don't have the roots to absorb the moisture yet, the extra moisture will cause the roots to get rot. Okay, especially if you water more than often. So I would recommend that you hold off on bottom watering your newly planted succulents on big pots, but on small pots, I think it doesn't matter. I bottom water my small pots right away, even after planting them. Okay, so those other succulents that we have here, these ones is our new ones. I already bottom watered them right away. I think I top watered them for about 2 days after I planted them, or about 3 days after I planted them, and then I bottom watered them after 1 week of receiving them. This is our rhombophyllum, and let me just show it to you. Okay, look at that, and it's already showing a bloom stalk. Okay, no, not bloom stalk, a flower. Okay, it's really nice. I hope I can catch up when this flower opens up. Okay, so we have that. So I hope you understand what I'm saying here. I'll show you an example of a succulent that recently didn't do so well because I bottom watered it right away. So this is our Echeveria Arcane. Now this one has some sunburn because I removed the filter here in my greenhouse, but it's kind of firm right now, okay? And I recently bottom watered it. But when it first came, I bottom watered it right away, so a lot of the lower leaves just got rot. So you might want to hold off on that. So after that happened, when the plant was thirsty again, I removed the rotten leaves and I just top watered it. And when I top watered it, it attached itself, and then the next time I watered it, I already turned to bottom watering. So yeah, you might sacrifice a few leaves if you're planting new succulents and they came from the box and they're establishing. They will sacrifice really some of their leaves as they're rooting up because they're using the energy to produce roots. So you would really expect that on your newly bought succulents if they come out of the box. But with those that are not from the box, like with this one, these are not from the box, this was rooted when it came, they don't have to lose a lot of leaves because they already have roots to absorb moisture, and they don't need to sacrifice their leaves to establish themselves. Okay, even if you repot them, because we didn't remove any of the roots, so they're looking lush already right now. Okay, now when it comes to long-term strategies on watering, because we already discussed the newly planted succulents, how to water them. So if you're planning to grow succulents in the long term, there are different methods, different ways to go about it. Some other people will want to grow succulents so that they can sell them, they can produce a lot, and that's what Benguet sellers do. And what happens with those, they produce these succulents that doesn't have much farina, okay, because they're fast grown. Okay, look at that, and they have cold weather there in the highlands, so they don't need a ton of really bright light. So some of the succulents can produce a lot of growth, and it will not have that thick farina compared if you grow it in a highlight situation. Okay, so this one was grown in a very sunny place here in my area, so we can see that it has a lot of farina on that. So farina is really dependent upon the plant and then the growing conditions that it has. So for those, if you want to really have this thick farina on your succulents, and if you're really not growing them for sale, or you're just growing them for yourself, or you want to see much more color on your succulents, you might want to water less often in the long term. But I would really recommend this on succulents that have stress colors. But with succulents that are just plain green, that doesn't change color, you can water them as often as you like. As soon as they're thirsty, you can water them. So with this one, this is an Echeveria champagne variety, probably a red one. Okay, this one I'm watering less often because it has stress color. So you can see here, it has already some coloring on that one. Okay, so with these coloring succulents, with succulents that has color on them, you might want to water less often. And this is especially good if you have cold climates, because with cold climates, succulents don't need to get watered very often, and they will also produce much more color if you water less often and it's already cold enough. So stress coloring during the winter season is actually good because they don't have a lot of heat that will burn them even if you don't water them often. So it will be much better to stress your succulents during the winter season. So you might want to water less often your brightly colored succulents if it gets cold enough and if it's not hot anymore. Okay, so that's what you want to do. Some succulents, especially that one because it's a Lawi hybrid. Okay, probably this one I will show this. Some succulents like this one, really thick leaves on that one. So if you manage to establish it really nicely, you might want to hold off on watering on it during the colder season, especially it won't be getting very thirsty very often. But this one recently got thirsty, so now it's looking really plump. Okay, if you don't water it often, it will look plump like this, and it will have thicker farina, and sometimes it can color up if it gets cold enough. So in the Philippines, it doesn't get cold enough, but if you water your succulents very often, I will show you here. Okay, this is a different variety. This is Echeveria amabile. Okay, and this is supposed to have really thicker leaves, but I'm actually making a transition to a thicker leaf plant because you can see here I've been not watering it very often. Okay, so if you stress your succulents, if you don't water them often, they will really sacrifice their leaves like this. Okay, they will drop a lot of leaves. but they will have thicker leaves in the longer term. Okay, so if you hold off on watering them, if you really wait for the potting mix to dry out thoroughly, and then you wait a little longer before you water them, you can make them thicker. And this one, I'm actually making it thicker. So if you buy succulents from online, and if you buy anywhere really, and they're not that yet thick, they're not looking very plump, you might want to establish them first, and once they're established, you might want to start watering them for stress. So you might want to water less frequently once they're established so that they can produce much more thicker leaves. If you don't water your succulents right away and they're newly planted and they're getting heat, they will drop a lot of leaves and they will probably die. And also, if you water very rarely, if you take a very long time to water, then sometimes a succulent can also get mealybugs, which is why I don't recommend really taking forever before watering your succulents. Just for me personally, I water whenever I feel like it. Actually, I'm calculating each of my succulents when I water them. Okay, so you will also have that idea once you have more experience with growing succulents. You will be able to adjust your succulents, their watering. Okay, so if you just make sure do not neglect your succulents very much, because neglecting them will make them much more prone to insects and to rot. So if you, for example, don't water for a very long time and then you started watering immediately very often, so that can produce rot on your succulents, that can cause them to go rotting. So they still need some form of regularity when it comes to watering, and this is a skill that you will get as you go along. But for beginners, for starters, I think that's the info that I wanted to share with you. Especially for thicker leaf ones, water less often. For thinner leaf succulents, water more often. Now, also let me just show you how I identify which succulents needs to be watered. So for this one, I'm actually stress watering them because they're purple succulents, so I'm not watering them very often. You can tell your succulents need watering if you push into the soil and it's already dry thoroughly at the bottom, and if the bottom leaves are already kinda bendy. Okay, so I've shown this several times on my channel. If the leaves are bendy, if they're producing wrinkles like that, you can see, okay, then that is a sign that it needs watering. But if it's wet already and it's producing that wrinkles, then that might mean that the plant is still establishing. Don't water it right away. So make sure to check the potting mix first before the plant. Check if the potting mix is dry, then check the leaves. If it is wilting, then you can already start watering. So with this one, I already know that this one needed watering because look at the bottom leaves on that one, they're already wilting. Okay, so once a plant reaches that point of wilting, it will not plump back up, I believe. Okay, once it reaches that point, it will not plump back up again. That leaf will be gone. Okay, so if you neglect your succulents, if you want to stress water them or water them for stress, you will get more of that drying out leaves more often because you are stress watering them. So me personally, I've been stress watering this, so it really reached to that point. Okay, and which is why this plant hasn't grown a lot yet. So you can make your succulents compact and thick if you water less often. So now I still have these plants to move into my trays because this is where I let them dry out. So I will move them after we record this video, and I still have to do that. But I think that's about all the tutorial that I will be sharing with you in this video. I really hope that you liked it, and I really hope that you don't get confused with the way that I structured this video. So I think that gave you an idea on how to water your succulents. I've been ranting on for too long, and I really hope that you like this video. And if you did, please make sure to subscribe as well so that you can support the channel. And I think that's about it for this video, guys. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.